Got me thinking again about Barack Obama, his former boss, huh? You know, we're still living with a lot of, his legacy. Some of the stuff he did still affecting all of us. Makes sense, two-term president. One thing he did, he was reluctant to ever use the phrase Islamic terrorism. Didn't say it, wouldn't say it. Some thought he was in denial that it actually existed. And that's relevant right now. Now, we've had two horrible shootings in recent weeks. We had Boulder this week. 10 victims. An alleged shooter in custody right now. Notice the 10 victims are all believed to be Caucasian. Now let's go through a little bit about what we know of the shooter, okay? From his online activity, it's pretty clear he's a Trump hater and he perceived Islamic persecution. It is believed that he's Muslim and originally from Syria. All right, now let's talk about the Atlanta shooting last week. We had 8 victims, 6 of them Asian women, a white woman, a white man, and a Hispanic man was shot and injured. Okay, let's put those now side by side, Atlanta and Boulder. Now, which one do you think the mainstream media are calling a hate crime? Yep, Atlanta. Even though the suspect in custody is saying he had a sex addiction, they're all dismissing that. Law enforcement is saying there's no indication of a hate crime. Media wants to hear none of that, and they certainly don't want to hear hate crime regarding Boulder. Listen to this.
When I was watching that news conference and he called it a bad day, and all I could think of was 8 people are grieving tonight. It's a guy that had an issue. He blames a race of people for his problem. And then he goes and eliminates what he thinks to eliminate the temptation that he has an issue with. It's outrageous.
It's a peculiar amount of empathy for a mass shooter.
It's humanizing the shooter. Yeah. It's humanizing the shooter once again.
Yeah.
And can I point out that the shooter is a white man who is alive after they knew that he had killed 8 people.
And he was armed.
And he was armed, and they knew that too.
Yeah.
Yale seemed to be upset that they didn't blow the shooter away when they didn't have to. All right, you've seen this before. It's all Trump's fault. It's his rhetoric that set the conditions for hate crimes in America. And remember, no one's saying officially that what happened in Boulder is a hate crime. It's all about Atlanta. Look at this. And again, they say it's all traced back to Trump. Hit it.
By the way, it's a disease, without question, has more names than any disease in history. I can name Kung Flu. I can name 19 different versions of names.
Okay, he said Kung Flu. Now, do we think that set off the murderous rampage in Atlanta? Is that a reasonable connection to make? Law enforcement are not making that connection. The shooter is saying that he had a horrible, horrible problem with sex addiction. Now let's switch to Boulder. Again, all of the victims in this case are Caucasian, the shooter originally from Syria. Now, I'm wondering for a moment, we've heard so much in this country about white supremacy, right? It is the #1 threat. Is law enforcement looking that perhaps this was in reaction to that? He may have been fueled by the white supremacy rhetoric that's out there, that it's a danger and he wanted to stop it. I mean, listen to some of this.
Racism is real in America.
That is tonight's lesson in white privilege.
White America needs to come to terms with the fact that we live in a racist society.
All I kept thinking about over the past few weeks was just how lucky I am as a white, privileged person.
The fact of the matter is there is institutional racism in America.